you couldn't breathe. So you would lay in that thing, and basically it would suck the air out, which would make your chest expand. Sharps rifles are known for their quality, and even the guns that didn't sell well are still considered collectible.
Imagine walking into a pawn shop with a literal iron lung. Yes, a whole piece of medical history rolls right into the gold and silver pawn shop, and the looks on everyone's faces? Pure shock. Rick instantly recognizes it as a negative pressure ventilator from the polio era. You could cut the tension with a knife. Will this bizarre machine be worth anything, or is it just a giant, creepy paperweight?
Big, heavy piece of iron in for you to look at.
A piece of iron?
It's a medical device.
The seller explains he found the iron lung at his buddy's construction yard. Rick dives into story mode, describing how it saved thousands of lives when polio paralyzed people's lungs. But as fascinating as it is, Rick keeps pointing out the obvious. It's massive, it's terrifying, and honestly, who wants this in their living room? Still, the seller throws out his price, a whopping $100,000. Cue the record scratch.
So this is it, huh? Where did you get an iron lung?
Rick's face is priceless here. $100 grand for something that looks like it belongs in a horror movie? He carefully checks the parts. The bed is intact, the port's still open, but the padding and glass are missing. Rick doesn't sugarcoat it. In its current condition, the value is basically scrap metal. Talk about a harsh reality check.
The porthole still open up?
Yes, sir.
Can't imagine living in this thing. And some people lived in these things for years and years and years.
The seller insists that, restored, it could be an amazing teaching tool for doctors. Rick agrees, but not enough to open his wallet. He admits he can't find a buyer for something this niche and creepy. The seller leaves stunned, muttering about restoring it himself. Drama overload. Imagine expecting $100,000 and walking away with nothing.
But where in the world are you going to find something that's this historically important?
I don't see anybody buying them. So
Next up, a customer with $1 million piece walks in. Wait for it, a NASA space shuttle toilet seat. Yes, you heard that right, a space toilet seat. Rick looks at it, deadpan. That's a really small butt. The seller explains how astronauts literally had to strap themselves down to use it in zero gravity. Right now, everyone is imagining floating turds in space. Talk about messy. Rick asks the big question, have you ever used it? The seller thankfully says no.
This is a NASA space shuttle toilet seat.
okay, we have a space toilet seat for a really, really small butt.
The negotiations kick in, and the seller wants $400 for it. Rick jokes about the toilet seat market being a little unpredictable. Understatement of the century. He admits it's unique, but he's not sure if it's legit. So, classic move. He calls in his buddy from the Aerospace Museum to check it out.
What's it made of?
It's a polyurethane foam, and they coat it so you have zero outgassing in space.
Now comes the expert moment. Rick's aerospace friend arrives and inspects the toilet seat. He confirms it's authentic, explaining how it seals under astronauts so nothing floats away. The detail that NASA engineers literally had to measure every astronaut's backside, everyone in the room is dying laughing. This might be the funniest expert moment in Pawn Stars history.
We have a
NASA space shuttle toilet seat.
The expert goes deeper, even explaining how, in the early days, astronauts used something resembling a condom for waste collection. The awkwardness on Rick's face is everything. This is one of those rare times where the educational moment is just as hilarious as it is informative. Space might be glamorous, but bathroom breaks? Not so much.
Backsides of all the astronauts.
Okay, that took care of one end. How was the other end taken care of?
Rick finally sits down with the toilet seat seller after the expert's confirmation. The item is rare, legit, and kind of hilarious, but Rick still has to make money. The seller wants $400, but Rick's thinking much lower. This is where negotiations get messy, and not in the space poop way.
For the shuttle, or is it like a prototype, or?
Well, the ones that flew had a titanium insert on the underside of it.
The seller holds firm, but Rick's skeptical about how many collectors want to proudly display a used space toilet seat. They dance around prices, but it's clear both sides are on edge. Tension rising, egos clashing, and all over a foam-covered seat. This is peak Pawn Stars absurdity.
Means that this one didn't fly.
So seriously, Mark, do you think anybody out there actually collects these, or?
Having met space collectors, they want anything.
A seller struts in like he's holding the crown jewels, and honestly, he's not far off. A French letter from Napoleon, complete with seal, hits the counter. The guy wants 10 grand, of course, because who wouldn't? Corey, though, is skeptical. Napoleon signed a lot of paper in his day, so is this a payday or a paperweight? Tension is simmering already, and I'm leaning toward drama.
This is a letter signed by Napoleon himself.
That's really cool. Where'd you get this?
Online.
You can trust Corey to give a full history class when stuff like this walks into the store. Corey reads through the letter, half in French, half in guesswork. It all looks legit. A seal the writing and a COA. He's convinced it's a motivational go fight, win the day kind of speech. But that's not what matters here. The price is where it's at, and in no time negotiations kick in.
You have any idea what it says?
No, I speak very little French.
I guess it'd be kind of weird if Napoleon wrote it in English, right?
The seller wants to walk away with a whopping 10 grand, but Corey has something else in the bank for him. When the seller hears Rick's counter of $1,500, his face drops faster than Napoleon at Waterloo. He tries swinging higher, 5 grand, but Rick won't budge. After some awkward haggling, Corey scoops it up for just $2,000. Talk about a reality check.
Well, you know I'm gonna say like 10 grand.
10 grand's just way too much. You're gonna have to come down quite a bit, man. I'm thinking more along the lines of 1,500.
Rick and the old man are grilling Corey. He's beaming like he just stole the Mona Lisa, but both immediately say what we're all thinking. Bro, you bought a Napoleon letter off Vibes alone? They insist he get it checked out, and Corey storms off muttering like prey limping from lions. Classic Pawn Stars family roast session, brutal but hilarious.
Certificate of authenticity.
The Napoleon?
Yep.
That's freaking sweet.
And his seal. I mean, you just don't see that.
Corey limps into UNLV to meet Greg, the history professor, still clutching his Napoleon letter. Greg's face lights up. This is from Napoleon's reign. He even ties it to a famous battle where Napoleon gave a fiery speech to soldiers. Corey's practically glowing at this point, already imagining a resale jackpot. But then Greg drops the bombshell. It's not an original Battlefield copy.
My dad doesn't believe it for some reason, so I'm down here to see my friend Greg. He knows everything there is to know about French history and Napoleon.
Turns out the true original lives safely in a Paris museum. What Corey bought? A later reproduction. Still antique, still signed, but nowhere near Battlefield-level priceless. You can actually see Corey's grin fade into a grimace. Drama overload, folks. Just when he thought he scored, reality smacked him right back down.
You will be the object of all of my attention. He's the emperor, he's the head of the whole government. He can give them anything they want. That all you'll have to do is say, I was at the Battle of Austerlitz.
The expert's verdict stands. Not a Battlefield proclamation, just a later signed document. Still valuable, but not the fortune Corey hoped for. His face says it all, the agony of defeat on crutches. Honestly, Napoleon might have conquered Europe twice, but Corey just lost this battle hard.
So what we've got here is very clearly a replica of a very important document.
Next in, a history teacher with a shiny coin. And not just any coin, he swears it's Continental currency from 1776. My jaw dropped. If real, this could be worth hundreds of thousands. Rick's eyes practically turn into dollar signs, but there's hesitation. It's in too good condition. And in the coin world, too perfect usually means fake. You could cut the tension with a knife.
I've got what I hope is a piece of Continental currency from 1776 I'd like you to look at.
Oh, this is very cool.
Rick gives it the weight test. Real pewter versions should be 15 to 18 grams. The scale flashes, 27.4. Ouch. Just like that, the dream shatters. The poor teacher takes it well, saying at least it's a great fake to show students. But man, you can feel the heartbreak. That moment where your jackpot turns into pocket change? Brutal.
Have you had this checked out by anybody?
No.
Okay. The ones you see online that sold for...
It's still crazy in the shop as a man walks in with a rock. Yup, a giant hunk of meteorite, or so he claims. And honestly, it looks like a piece of barbecue charcoal. What's a pawn without a little history class? Rick makes sure to give many details about the badges right in front of him.
Got some badges. Historical from Nevada.
Impersonating an officer is illegal.
Now it's time for business. The seller wants $850, but Rick isn't even 100% sure that this little rock is original. The seller wants some serious cash, but Rick isn't about to pay moon money for driveway gravel. Rick calls in his expert, Mark, who also drops a little lesson on badges before confirming that they're in fact real.
What do we got today?
Las Vegas Police and Clark County Sheriff's Department.
The seller definitely knew what today was, payday, and now we are back to negotiations. The seller, who is now obviously proud of his little pawn, brings his price down a notch and asks for $700. But that is still on the high side for Rick. Now it's a battle for who has the best poker face in the room, and we're on! The seller caves in and settles for Rick's $650 offer.
I have to resell this. I have to make a little money. 500 is a better price.
I'm sure that would be better, but it's not better for me.
Imagine walking into the pawn shop with an 1861 experimental rifle, the kind of thing that screams Civil War mystery. That's exactly what one seller does, proudly revealing his Sharps & Hankins experimental rifle, hoping it's worth a fortune. Rick's eyes widen, but he's cautious. After all, experimental sometimes means questionable. Still, the intrigue is high. The seller dreams of cashing in for more antique firearms.
Hey, so what do we got here?
It's an 1861 Sharps & Hankins experimental rifle.
That's pretty cool.
Rick immediately notes the Civil War context. Gun technology was exploding, patents flying, and the government was desperate for weapons. This rifle might not be rapid fire by today's standards, but back in 1861, it was groundbreaking. And when Rick drops the "that's where sharpshooter comes from" factoid, you can practically see him puff up with pride. But Rick's concerns about a sanded stock put a damper on things.
There was 1,000,001 experimental or prototypes and all this other things because there was like an explosion in gun technology.
The seller confidently asks for $3,000. Rick admits the market is thin and he has no clue about the value. Translation: it's time to call an expert. The seller agrees, visibly excited. You can feel the anticipation building. This rifle could be payday or heartbreak.
What do you want for it?
Well, I was hoping to get $3,000.
One of my problems with this is when you start getting guns that are...
Rick brings in Sean, the firearms expert. He's immediately fascinated, explaining how different firing technologies battled it out at the Civil War's start. Proficient soldiers could shoot several rounds a minute compared to the slowpokes with old muskets. The Sharps name carried weight because of quality and accuracy, and Sean's admiration shines through.
Experimental rifle?
I love seeing things like this because at the beginning of the Civil War, you had at least a half a dozen firing technologies.
But here comes the red flag. The barrel length isn't standard. At 23 3/4 inches, it's just odd enough to scream modified. Sean confirms the rifle is likely altered, sinking its rarity. You can almost hear the seller's hopes crashing down.
When they were going into production, they're going to make it a standard length. It's going to be 23 or 25 or what have you.
When pressed for value, Sean delivers the hard truth. It's a $1,500 to $2,000 gun, not the $3,000 dream. Rick seizes the opening, offering $1,000, then stretching to $1,050. The seller, holding firm at $1,500, walks out disappointed. The tension was thick, heartbreaking stuff.
It's a solid $1,500 to $2,000 gun.
So, but it's most likely modified. It's a modified rifle.
That's what I'm saying.
In walks a man with French antique door knockers. Yes, literal knockers. He worked 30 years for his boss, and this was the severance gift. Talk about underwhelming. He wants $1,800, but Rick's guy quickly points out the cultural significance. Different knockers for men and women in Muslim countries. Still, the mood shifts when Rick basically offers couch change.
Very nice French antique door knocker.
Okay, nice French antique door knockers. You worked for them for how long?
30 years.
And this was your severance package?
The seller's jaw practically drops when Rick offers $200 total. Desperation kicks in, and they land at $250. Watching that negotiation is like seeing someone trade a Rolex for a Happy Meal. The seller's consolation prize? Dinner with his wife. Honestly, he deserves at least dessert after that letdown.
What are you looking to get out of him?
For this one, I was asking $1,200. For this one, $600.
Next up, a chess table straight from the 1840s, packed with over 500 pieces of inlaid wood. Rick marvels, calling chess the ultimate lifelong game, even if his kids beat him regularly. The seller wants $5,000, confident that rarity plus detail equals big money. Rick's intrigued but skeptical. Without knowing the maker, it's risky business.
It's an amazing chess table.
Okay.
It's from the 1840s. There's over 500 pieces of inlaid wood.
As the seller explains, he compares the table's uniqueness to the bizarre history of Fiji mermaids. Part fish, part imagination. Rick chuckles, but remains firm. Origin matters more than flair. Without provenance, $5,000 is a pipe dream. The seller looks nervous as Rick calls in an expert to verify.
Right. And then you start looking at it closer. Well, what is it? What's this? This is called Fiji mermaid. They would take like a seal or a whale and they'd take a shrunken head of something.
The expert inspects carefully, confirming the table is indeed from the 1840s and noting the craftsmanship. But here's the kicker. Tables like this, though impressive, don't exactly set auction houses on fire. Rick listens, calculating resale risk in real time. The seller's confidence starts to crack.
Called me about a Fiji mermaid, so I thought I'd bring one over.
A Fiji mermaid?
Yes. Don't know whether you've ever seen the real thing.
Oh, man.
But that...
Negotiations heat up fast. Rick offers a number far below the $5,000 ask, pointing out storage and resale issues. The seller resists, hoping Rick will budge, but the pressure mounts. You could cut the tension with a knife. Eventually, the gap proves too wide. No deal. Another seller leaves empty-handed, visibly crushed.
I love this table, and for a certain price, I would do it, but I can't do it I go half.
I mean, it's an incredibly cool table, but...
Imagine walking into the gold and silver pawn shop carrying a helmet that looks like it could have come straight out of a medieval lobster boil. That's exactly what happens when a seller presents a Cromwellian lobster tail helmet claiming it's from the 1640s English Civil War. Rick's eyes light up, but you can already sense the doubt brewing behind that poker face.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
What do we have here?
Well, it is a Cromwellian lobster tail helmet.
The seller wants a hefty $3,500, but Rick immediately raises concerns. He explains that real lobster tail helmets were made with flexible plates, while this one is solid. Uh-oh. The first red flag is flying. Rick's skeptical tone says it all. You could cut the tension with a sword, or maybe even a rusty butter knife.
So how much you want for this thing?
I'd love to get $3,500 for it.
Okay,
Not wanting to get pinched by a bad deal, Rick calls in his go-to expert, Alex. The seller nervously fidgets while waiting. It's like watching someone wait for exam results, except this one involves metal headgear instead of math grades. When Alex arrives, he breaks it down. Real versions were articulated, battle-tested, and life-saving. This one, a lightweight Victorian copy. Ouch.
Ah, the lobster tail pot helmet.
So my big concern is his tail doesn't flex.
The expert delivers the value bomb. If real, it could fetch $3,500, but as a Victorian replica, maybe a couple $100 tops. Rick's offer? A measly $50. The seller politely declines, preferring to sip wine at home with the helmet as decor. Honestly, that's probably the classier move. Imagine explaining to friends you sold your Civil War helmet for gas money.
That this would have stopped a blow from a broadsword. I would think that it's actually a Victorian copy. As a Victorian copy?
Before we can catch our breath, in walks a guy with a piece of James Bond history, or at least that's the claim. He pulls out a gun supposedly linked to Sean Connery. Chumley's reaction is priceless. Half excitement, half suspicion. Like a kid told the Easter Bunny also sells Rolexes. This could either be jackpot history or straight up movie magic gone wrong.
From Russia with love, huh?
Well, that gun that Sean Connery held in the promotional shots.
Oh, wow.
The seller drops a bombshell. A similar gun held by Connery sold for over $500,000. $500,000. You can practically see Chumley's mind racing. Does he have a golden goose or just a plucked chicken? The seller, though, admits he's not expecting nearly that much. Still, that dangling carrot of Bond money has everyone leaning in.
They've resold the one that Sean Connery used twice that I found.
Okay.
Once about 10 years ago or so for over $500,000, and they resold it last year again.
Then, the real horsepower enters the episode. Rick gets a call about a 2014 Hertz-Penske Mustang GT, only 150 made with just 10 in manual transmission. Stored at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, this car is no ordinary Mustang. It's the muscle car equivalent of a unicorn in racing stripes. Rick, of course, bolts over faster than Chumley to a cheeseburger special.
That he wants to sell. This is not your average Mustang. It's pretty badass, and he has it stored at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
When Rick lays eyes on it, the excitement is palpable. This beast does 0 to 60 in just 4 seconds. The seller explains he snagged it thanks to a family connection at Hertz, since most were reserved for executives and Penske VIPs. Asking price? A whopping $85,000, though he'll settle for $60,000. Rick's eyebrow raises higher than gas prices in Vegas.
Well, I bought it directly through Hertz. My brother-in-law works for Hertz. 10 of these were held back for Hertz executive, and one kind of slipped through the crack.
The backstory adds even more flair. Back in the 1960s, Hertz actually let customers rent Shelby GT 350S for the weekend. Of course, people abused that by swapping engines with their own cars, a classic mix of genius and idiocy. Rick loves the Penske connection, but the rarity makes it nearly impossible to price. No Kelley Blue Book entry for executive-only race car.
When it comes down to it, there's basically only 10 of these cars in existence, so it's really hard to figure out a price. It's not like you can look in a blue book.
Rick decides to call in NASCAR racer Joey Logana, and he was more than excited to be in that garage with that car. He dropped a few facts on the car, including the fact that this car was actually first built in the 60s. He spots out the autograph right on the dashboard and calls it pure gold. But does Rick think so?
This is a 2014 Hertz Penske GT.
Sweet. I'm a little bit familiar with these cars.
The judgment call is about to ring. Rick asks Joey what he thinks negotiations heat up with the seller. Rick knows it's rare, the seller knows it's rare, and neither wants to budge. The seller clings to his $60,000 minimum like it's a lifeboat on the Titanic, while Rick keeps reminding him that collectors are the ones paying top dollar, not pawn shops. You could cut this negotiation tension with a tire iron.
So, Joey, what do you think it's worth?
I think it's hard to say because it's rare, right? There's not many of these cars for sale.
Finally, Rick makes his call. He closes the deal with the seller as they shake hands on $60,000. I'm not sure who is happier here, the seller who is walking away with cash in the bag, or Rick, who has this heavy horsepower in his garage. One thing is for sure, Rick was happier than a kid who bought some strawberry ice cream. As much as he admires the Mustang, it's too niche and too expensive for him to comfortably flip. The seller, clearly disappointed, drives off with his automotive trophy. Rick shrugs it off, proving that in the pawn business, sometimes even dream cars have to hit the brakes. And honestly, that restraint might be the smartest move of the episode.
I'll go 60 grand.
62, Rick.
I'll write you a check for 60 grand, and it'll even be good.
Imagine walking into a pawn shop with a piece of paper signed by George Washington himself. Yeah, we're talking about the founding father who couldn't tell a lie. Well, apparently, he did sell lottery tickets. That's right, the first big item is a 1768 lottery ticket signed by George Washington, and Rick's face says it all. Intrigued, suspicious, and already smelling money. Can anyone else feel the tension brewing?
I've got a 1768 lottery ticket signed by George Washington.
You can't cash it in here.
I'm going in the pawn shop today to try to sell a lottery ticket signed by George Washington.
The seller explains he snagged this ticket from a collector in Connecticut, but Rick isn't buying the story at face value. He's worried about how pristine it looks. I mean, we're talking about 250-year-old paper. Shouldn't it look like it survived a hurricane or two? Rick's concern, too good to be true. And honestly, he's not wrong.
It's part of a lottery that was pre-Revolutionary War, and I do know Washington signed a few of them.
There was a lot of different reasons they did lotteries back then. Sometimes they were for a charity, sometimes they were just to get a business going.
The guy wants between $8,000 to $10,000, hoping to walk away with at least $5 grand. Rick, cautious as ever, calls in his buddy, who's an expert on historical documents. This is classic Pawn Stars. Rick won't drop a dime until an expert blesses it. Smart move, but can you cut the tension here with a knife? Absolutely.
Did you want to pawn it or sell it?
I really want to sell it.
Did you have an idea what you wanted for it?
I feel the thing's worth between $8,000 and $10,000. I think the autograph's worth about $8,000, and I want to get at least $5,000 for it.
Meanwhile, Rick brings in his expert to verify the George Washington lottery ticket. The expert confirms it's real, hand-laid paper, proper ink, and the patina checks out. Jackpot! He values it at $8,000. The seller looks relieved. Rick looks calculating. Now it's time for negotiations.
Restoring buildings, in this case, building a mountain road. George Washington was a landowner, a speculator, and this was actually a project that he had come up with to build a resort.
Rick offers $8,000. Yeah, you heard that right. The seller's face? Pure insulted disbelief. I mean, $8 grand after asking for $15,000. The lowest the seller can go? $11,000. But after hearing that the ticket was original through and through and was likely worth $20,000, he decided to take his piece of history back home.
I'm sorry, I just can't do it. It's just too pristine, it's too valuable, and it's a piece of history lane here, and I can't part with it for anything less than 11. We can part friends though, can't we, on this?
Yeah, we can be friends.
Okay.
Next, we shift gears, literally, to something bigger, a crashed helicopter. Rick meets with Larry, his helicopter repairing buddy, to check it out. And And wow, what a sight. It looks more like scrap metal than a chopper. Rick straight up says it. Looks like a pile of junk to me. Ouch.
So this is it, huh?
No, actually, this is it.
Really?
It's all there.
Yeah, I know you said it was in a crash, but you didn't tell me it crashed and burned.
The seller explains it only had a hard landing, which sounds like pilot lingo for "we pancaked this thing into the dirt." Thankfully, nobody died in the crash, but the vibe is still awkward. The guy admits he lost his job and now just wants his money back. Basically, he bought a broken helicopter he can't afford to fix. Talk about messy.
It was just involved in a hard landing.
And did the pilot walk away? Did the pilot die in this thing? Because it might give me a bad vibe or something.
A pilot and passenger were both fine.
Larry steps in, explaining that this is a Schweitzer 300C helicopter, designed back in the 60s and originally built for military training. And here's the kicker. It was literally designed to crash and be repairable. Imagine marketing that. Buy this helicopter, guaranteed to survive when you crash it.
The model number is a Schweitzer 300C. This is a 1992. Now, this aircraft was originally designed for the military about 1967, and they did all of the flight training in the Army with it.
Larry reassures Rick that while the cab looks wrecked, the motor survived. That's a $30,000 engine right there. Plus, pulleys and components are still intact, some worth $20,000 each. Okay, suddenly this hunk of junk looks like a gold mine in parts. Rick's eyes are practically turning into dollar signs.
This looks like it's in bad condition, but frankly, this whole front cab, I can typically rebuild within about 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay, so did the motor survive the crash?
Oh yes, it did. This is good.
The repair cost? About $100,000 with a resale value of $150,000. That's a potential $50,000 profit if everything goes right. Huge gamble. The seller wants $10,000, which is what he originally paid. Rick hesitates but finally shakes hands. A helicopter for $10,000? That's the most Vegas thing I've ever heard.
I bought this off the insurance company for $10,000, so that's what I'm looking to get out of it.
Oh, will you take anything less than 10?
I mean, I can't really afford to take anything less than 10.
Okay. All right, 10,000, it's a deal, man.
Thank you very much.
Rick shows off his $10,000 helicopter investment to the old man. And let's just say, the old man is not impressed. He sees a pile of twisted metal and thinks Rick's lost it. The generational clash is hilarious. Rick sees opportunity. The old man sees junkyard scrap. Tension overload here.
Bought a helicopter and I got it for 10 grand.
Rick, how in the hell did you buy a helicopter for 10 grand?
Must be a pretty helicopter, dude.
It has to be a friggin' basket case.
It's not a basket case.
Back in the shop, a seller brings in 5 1967 Pete Rose baseball cards, all in mint condition. Corey's impressed but skeptical. Too perfect, too clean. And let's be honest, when you find 5 mint Pete Rose cards in your garage, that screams suspicious.
I got 5 top 1967 Pete Rose baseball cards here, mint condition.
You got 5 Mona Lisas too?
Yeah, don't I wish.
I don't really know too much about Pete Rose, the baseball player.
The seller swears they're authentic, even says he'd bet on Pete Rose's reputation, which, let's be real, is not the best gamble considering Pete was banned for betting on baseball. The irony here is delicious. Corey decides to call Rick over for backup.
They're authentic cards. They're labeled Tops 430. A little cartoon shows him hitting one out of the park there. It's got all of his stats for the year. No tears, no marks.
Rick takes one look and calls it fake. He points out the blurry colors, overexposed photo, and inkjet printer quality. These things aren't even good fakes. The seller looks crushed. Imagine finding what you think is treasure in your garage, only to discover it's worth less than the cardboard it's printed on. Heartbreaking stuff.